In this, the third part of this tutorial, we're going to look at assembling everything in After Effects. And this is going to take a little bit longer, so pay close attention to all of the settings. And you can pause it. I'll try to make sure that I let all the dialog boxes hang there a little bit longer so that you can get the correct settings. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to right mouse click in my project bin here, and I'm going to choose Import File. Now, you need to navigate to your project folder. You can see that I've already got that going on here. So, but you need to go to your images folder and grab both sequences that you rendered back in Maya. So let's get going with that. First, the arm flap final. I'll select that and I will hit open. And I'm going to hit guess for the alpha channel. And you should do that whenever this pops up, because After Effects is pretty good at figuring out which type of alpha channel it wants to work with. So hit guess and then hit OK. And you'll see that I now have some footage here. Now, After Effects can't distinguish whether your footage is actually 24 or 30 or 25 frames per second, whatever. It automatically assumes that your footage is at 30, and of course that's problematic because we actually want it to be working at 24 frames per second. So we're going to go ahead and fix that by interpreting the footage, and here's how we do it. So you right mouse click on your footage and choose Interpret Footage Main. From here, you want to click Assume this frame rate and type 24 in that dialog, and then hit OK. And you'll see that After Effects is now recognizing that this sequence is 24 frames per second. Let's go grab our pencil test as well. So once again, we'll right mouse click, choose Import File, navigate through my images folder here to find my pencil test, select one of the images and hit open, and there we go. So in this case here, because it's a JPEG image or an image sequence, sorry, After Effects doesn't see an alpha channel, and it isn't recommending that you do anything with it. So, but we still have the problem that this footage is going to play at 30 frames per second, so we need to interpret that footage. Right mouse click, Interpret Footage, Main, and we go through the same steps. Okay, there we go. Now, one of the things about After Effects is that if you change the footage at all, it's destructive, and we don't want that. So what I'm actually going to teach you how to do is probably a little bit of overkill, but it could help down the road with other After Effects things, and that is we're going to create compositions within compositions, otherwise known as nested compositions. And we need to work with compositions in order to output our files in After Effects. So, starting with arm flap final, the target sequence, what I'm going to do is drag this file here down to this button here, this third from the left button called Create a New Composition. Let's go ahead and do that. And you'll notice that it's created a new composition, and it has the same settings as my file. It's 1280 by 720, and it's 24 frames per second. So that's great. That's the first part done. We want to do the same thing with the pencil test. Create a composition. So I'll take it, drag it down to the button, and now we have a composition for that. Now what we're going to do is we're not actually going to work with the actual sequences, we're going to work with the compositions instead. So what we can do is we can take arm flap final composition and drag it to the Create a New Composition button. And you'll see that we now have as a layer in this composition the arm flap final composition. Yay! So what we also want to do is we want to add the pencil test to this. So let's go ahead and drag the pencil test from this point here onto arm flap final 2. and it will automatically drop it into this composition. There you go. Now, obviously, that is not what we want. We want to create a screen and screen effect. So what we'll do is we're going to select the pencil test layer, and we'll hit S for scale. And I'm going to scale this down to about 30%. It will automatically constrain it to X and Y, and you'll see that my image is scaled down. Let's click and drag on it and bring it up to the top right-hand corner. Now, if I scrub the timeline here, we could see that those two things are not interfering with each other. And that's what we want. So yay, that's done. But this image is awfully dark in the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop a background image in here to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. So let's bring up a browser, do a quick search for background images. I'll click on Google image search here, and I'm going to actually look for an image that is exactly 1280 by 720. So I'll just type that in there. And now we have all kinds of images to choose from. So we don't want to pick anything too dark. And you don't have to go crazy with this. I think what I'll do is work with something along this line right here. Let's see that image here. Oh, well, here's a problem. It's actually a protected image, so we don't want to use that. Let's try this image here. Oh, that one looks pretty good. Hey, that's perfect. Okay, I'm going to just view that image, make sure that it's what I want. And there it is. And we'll download that image. So that will be perfect. Save image as, and I'm just going to drop it into my images folder. So off to the desktop I go, open my project, go to images, and let's drop that in right here. So we'll just call this background. Hit save, and we'll head back to After Effects. Okay, let's import that by right mouse clicking in the bin, choosing Import File, navigating to wherever that image is, and there it is, hitting Open. And what we'll do is we'll drop that into our background in our composition. So this time, instead of dragging this image into Arm Flap Final 2, I'm actually going to drag it right down into the actual composition. But because After Effects works like Photoshop with layers, if I can just drop it down in the bottom layer, I'm going to get the result that I'm looking for. Now again, you'll notice that this image is quite a bit larger than my actual images. So let's scale it down. Hit S and scale the image down. There, that's lovely. Okay, the last stage is that we want to label our footage. So what we'll do is click on the text tool and go ahead and label this by putting our name, our section, and the name of the project. That's kind of big there, but we'll deal with that in a couple of minutes. I'm going to choose Myriad as my font. Try that again. And there we go. Like I said, that's a little bit big, so let's try 48 instead for our font size. And we'll just go ahead and start typing, and then I'll move it where it needs to be. So in this case here, this is Max's file, so we'll name it after the owner of the file. That's actually center justifying my text. So I'll just click here to make sure that my text is left aligned. There we are. And this is ANMN 150 0NC, and finally this would be the arm flap animation. And I'm just going to do one other quick thing. I'm going to choose, I don't know, maybe condensed. Bold condensed might work. Look at that. It's beautiful. I'll click on the move tool here, or the selection tool, drag this down, and there you have it. We have assembled this in After Effects. To test the file, let's go ahead and hit 0 on our number pad, which will render the file for us, and begin to play it through, and that looks perfect. Okay. Finally, save your file. And I'm just going to save it to my project folder and call it arm flap animation. And hit save. And when we come back, what we will do is we'll look at the final stage of this project.